Crespo is going to be hosting for Let's Talk Football the Round Table. And Let's Talk Football Ladies Takeover.
So Delilah, kind of talk to us about like the origins of diversity with Delilah.
Yeah, so obviously a lot of you know Kat, right? Sean's fiance, and she's also an educator. And along years ago, when we started the roundtable, we started talking about representation and how important that is just as a teacher and an educator. And then I realized that we need to talk about it also in sports. And since it wasn't a football show, I figured that it would be a good idea to bring up all these different people who broke down barriers, right, into the NFL. We know that it's not perfect, but it's definitely better than it's been. And so I always want to talk about those trailblazers, all these different, and not just the athletes, right? Because of course athletes are important. We're talking about the cheerleaders, we're talking about executives, we're talking about just all aspects of what makes the NFL what it is. And so we always thought it was really important to kind of spotlight those people that are, bringing diversity to the NFL, one person at a time, one voice at a time, and, chipping away at that.
Absolutely. And remind people of some of the names that you've done. I know Jim Plunkett is one of the names, one of the first ones you did, Jim Thorpe.
Of course, talk about Thorpe because him being Indigenous American, he lost a lot of his credibility. And so I thought it was really important to talk about that and make sure that we talked about these people that were given their accolades after, but that still kind of came down and, broke down these barriers. I always make sure to spotlight people that kind of joined football before the merger, right? So I often have brought up players and coaches and all these different people that were part of the two different organizations at the time, right? Because the NFL is modern. And so I always try to talk about the pre-Super Bowl era and after Super Bowl era, before the merger. And so that's sometimes I have to talk about the AFL, which is the American Football League, which is now the American Conference, right? So it's keeping all that in order. And so it's always good to make sure that we're talking about everyone involved. That was also the first time we started talking about women in the NFL as well. So I always wanted to make sure that I was covering a broad scope of diversity, right? So representation when it comes to gender, to ethnicity, to race, to sexuality. And so I wanted to just make sure that I covered a lot of different aspects and not just focus on one group.
I love it. Yeah, absolutely.